Chill here with Sirius Talisman. This is Mercury, our Venus night. The moon is 24 degrees Taurus, and this is separating from the square to Mars and applying to Beta Persei and Uranus. Beta Persei is in her um, shielding phase right before the eclipse tomorrow. So, and the ascendant is 0 degree Libra, so very Venus, very 0 degree Cancer, Moon, Venus. Mercury is 22, and the Moon is in the 8th house. Now, there's something I received regarding the fascination and intrigue in Beta Persei stories by people who are not aware that people don't want to be raped, as weird as it sounds, because what I was receiving is that there may be certain energies that didn't grow up with environment, but most of the world did not grow up with environment that is honoring the sacred erotic and non-erotic self, and that can create confusion. But what I'm receiving is that one's own gnosis about who they are. Um, and I am uploading this. Um, so one one's own gnosis about who they are is their own. We can raise awareness and so on and so forth, um, but it does spark confusion and triggering. And the people who find themselves pondering about this type of questions, the people who find themselves intrigued, wondering, did they want that? Which was obviously a discussion has to do with something that is not willingly consensual sex. Um, that that is their own journey with themselves, and they might want to look at where is Beta Persei in their chart, or where is Taurus, or where is Venus. Um, because usually it means that they have a story with that they have um, their own journey with this notion. And um, particularly people that talk about respect, not from the context of honoring the concept of the feminine, but as, how should I say that? Okay, complying with places where there were a lot of mafia, a lot of crimes, a lot of human trafficking, a lot of ritual abuse, and believing, perhaps as a coping mechanism, that dressing a certain way or um, okay, how should I say that? Sanctity is a spiritual bypass. Okay, it doesn't mean that people. Um, it doesn't mean that abstaining from sexuality for a while, or only being sexual. Um, well, like I said, for people, um, ne- the not to have sex as exchange for anything is is a good tip, but this is not for morality reasons rather than its resonance with the life energy. It's basically the approximate to zero rape, zero slavery. Because we didn't grow honoring the feminine, the stories of Beta Persei can spark a lot of intrigue. Did she want that? Oh, but she is actually, I don't know, um, um, speaking with or navigating diplomatic territories, um, and that can spark questions in people that each and every person has their own journey with. Like I said, even if tomorrow somebody declares a declaration of independence of a new country, they will still need to have diplomatic relationships with countries that right now are not 100% sovereign from extortion codes, which is better per se stories. So each and every person has their own journey, and I think moon spiking Uranus around Beta Persei can create situations where people are fascinated. And as an astrologer, I would recommend to think about what house is Taurus, what planets are around, are in Taurus, where is Venus, what house is Venus at, and the journey that sparks that question, that sparks that interest, that spark that maybe sense of judgment, maybe not knowing, maybe confusion. This is where it sits. For example, I have Beta Persei. Um, for my business is the midheaven, and for my natal chart is the third house, which is business. So, um, and um, yes, so for me it is, let's say, expression and art and the razonetat for art with the stars. Um, and I have a lot of family there. So Venus is in Taurus. So this is where, for me, for example, I could look at Venus and she's opposing Pluto but trining Neptune. Um, she's ruling over a lot of spirit and say, conjoining Mercury out of sign. So I can think about where do I meet these Beta Persei timelines and have my own journey with them. Um, where other people could meet that, and each and every person has their own triggers because it is going back to dealing with basically something that's way grander than one event or another. Where is the story of the rapists turned into stone? meets one. And where is the awareness that evil is created by torture without ability to exit violence? Okay, the reason I'm not doing a talisman of Beta Persei right now is because the moon is squaring Mars. And, okay, for example, Deneb Algedi, the squares Beta Persei, is about wealth redistribution, um, but sexuality and sexual love cannot be something that one just takes from one and distributes. In fact, Sedna's story teaches us that when such thing is done, then unlike sharing food and resources, when such thing is done, then there is famine. And I know that in certain contexts there were Dionysian and so on and so forth. Um, that being said, those Dionysian are usually hoarding wealth. They're not in a balcony. Okay, they might be a cooperative between them and themselves, but they are greedy cooperative. Okay, they rubber bank. Okay. Pluto going from Capricorn to Aquarius to me was finding out that rubber bank was a cooperative. Or the kibbutz and moshav, which were trafficking children as well, and torturing them, and so on and so forth. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Enough for one pedo into child dorms, and nobody would do anything about that. Um, so, like I said, okay, the state of Israel has better per se in the eighth house, which is things swiped under the rug, like what I just mentioned. So, my business has better per se next to the midheaven, um, not conjoining on the degree, but next to the midheaven. And I was laughing that this midheaven. Actually, I was doing a Uranus beta per se, um, Venus Uranus beta per se talisman, and certain midheavens showed up. And then I was laughing at myself that my business had a midheaven there. Um, it was just the last election before Saturn would ingress to Aries. So, um, yeah, that's. So I guess Art with the Stars sparked that even more. But the easiest way to explain things to those who are probably called to or triggered by, um, because they have placements there, or whatever that story meets them, is even if one would want to declare independent country of zero risk slavery, zero rape, zero ritual abuse, that country will need to have diplomatic relations. And the founding reason was okay. And so the intricacy around that openly discussing the intricacy around that um, is something to consider. And perhaps this is the point where there can be a eureka regarding many things that can spike a lot, particularly questions like, wait, so they know that so why, okay, and so on and so forth, or what do they want that? Did they want that? Um, no, Falcon, nobody wants rape. Um, Nobody is willing to contend with that. Um, and there's a reason why I talk about zero rape, zero slavery. And I'm not pretending that, oh, it's about choice. And if rape was about choice, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. It is fucking intricate. And um, and the Beta Persei story is bigger than, and I think Uranus in COVID said now, and now Uranus going over Beta Persei with the moon sparking that reminds us that the creation of that evil was made by torture without an outlet. And yet those who perpetuate the torture without an outlet are turned into stone. So there's something very paradoxical about that, because um, we need to keep perpetuation from happening, um, and the divine rage in time of war, and yet we should not perpetuate, knowing that those that did perpetuate had been raped without an outlet, or even death, um, in circumstances of confinement. Um, so this is a little bit of a moon square Mars from Beta Persei. Gnosis um, is no easy answer. Um, and um, and Uranus also was confronting us with the question of death, people wanting to unalive themselves following such things, and the lack of ability to die, and so on and so forth, and the fact that when one is not in rape and torture and is sovereign, um, and is in love that is actually loving, um, and takes action to tend to that, um, there is life